This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Welcome back. The American Small Business League bills itself as the strongest voice in America, protecting federal programs that do assist the nation's 34-plus million small businesses. And, of course, a lot of them are in New York City. And now a new mayor might be coming in, one who's a Marxist socialist who wants to take over grocery stores and things of that nature. What will be the impact? Joining us now is the Director of Communications for the American Small Business League, Bruce Torres. Bruce, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Larry. Great to be here.
So let's begin with, I think the question's been raised, is New York City going to be a new guinea pig for a socialist experiment?
Oh, I would think so, sure. Yeah, it's been a guinea pig for really, really horrible policies, along with a few other, cities in the United States. I won't hog the answer here. I'll let you expand on your questioning, Larry.
Well, obviously we're talking about Zohran Mamdani, and already a lot of businesses are worried about what he's planning on doing. The very fact that he talks about taking over grocery stores, what does that mean to small businesses?
Well, that's a great question. Is he talking about taking them over? Is he talking about establishing city-run grocery stores? I don't know. I haven't really studied the nuance. Yeah, I like to pull back and just look at, well, how's the city doing now? They really can't stand the current mayor. And what kind of Democrat is this Mr. Mamdani? Is he going to continue a lot of that other stuff and the other things he wants to layer in and he says he wants to do? How are you going to pay for it? Like big picture economics, you can say the city's doing okay. The so-called booming industries or the industries doing well are tourism and Wall Street. On the street, though, I recently was living near New York City and got into the city. I grew up around there the whole time, my whole life, most of my life, and I actually lived in Manhattan for many, many years. The quality of life on the streets, it's rather oppressive with the rules and regs of how you can walk and where the bikes can go and where cars are no longer allowed. And it's just becoming more of I'm going to say prison or just a very constrained, oppressive rules and regs up the yin-yang. And this guy, I looked a little bit into his background, Larry, and my reading of history is that people like he fits the model. I don't know much about him, only looking at him the last few days. He fits a model of being really kind of positioned into this position. To this extent, it's rather provable that the CIA has groomed and developed people to assume big positions of power. There's a great case that Barack Obama was groomed by the CIA to come in and be president. This guy, just the broad strokes, has a lot of the same earmarks. I'm happy to elaborate on that.
Well, we do know that he's already saying that white neighborhoods, we need to relook at what they're being taxed. In other words, he is even on his website pushing basically an attack upon whites' economic base. But then he's also admitting that or suggesting New Yorkers are having to hide in the shadows. I'm going to have all of them get out of the shadows. New York citizens aren't hiding in the shadows. It's all the illegals, and they don't want more illegals in their nation, in their city.
That's very, very true. And some of his motivation for saying things like that and maybe going to step in and do those kind of things like that is to be very, very divisive, is to represent the poor and the struggling in the five boroughs. And there's tons of them.
Now, there's an interesting point there. Let me break that down for a moment. He thought he was going to be pulling all of the ones you were talking about, but when the polling results came in, those making $50,000 or less did not vote for him. They did not go his way. He was getting those at 100,000 or more, and yet he's basically, poor pity me. Everyone should join me. I will bring you to the high road.
This guy, it's too pat that this guy became an assemblyman, so young and so fast, and now he's been positioned into this position so far, and we don't know what will happen in the general election, but he's got all the markings of that media favoritism in order to play a bigger, more interesting role that doesn't really. He's not being pushed up organically by the people.
No.
That's my from the hip. And again, I haven't done an in-depth on him, but that's what this looks like to me.
But what he has said is, I don't think we should have billionaires. And I want billionaires out of New York City, and we should have no billionaires, especially if they're white.
And that is designed to inflame the conversation. For all the good case one could make, looking at our tax structures and looking at how wealth has been extracted from the working classes up to the elite of the stinking elite who run the federal government, state governments, and city governments for their own purposes to extract the wealth out of the United States, out of the American people, and out of small businesses, to consolidate things up into the biggest businesses and the biggest institutions, part of what looks like a long-range liquidation sale and also a controlled demolition of the United States of America. That's very consistent to me.
What percentage of small businesses are in New York City? Do you have that off the top of your head?
No, not off the top of my head.
All right.
But, Larry,
go ahead.
Nationwide, 99.9% of all businesses in America are small businesses. 98% have less than 100 employees. You can't make America great if you don't make our small businesses great. And we are under assault from the federal level, and my impression at the city level, like New York City.
So if this guy gets in and he starts trying to take over or create regulations that cripple small business, what do you say is the outcome?
That would be not a surprise, just because of the giant trends that are taking small businesses around the country, squeezing them, making it just harder and harder for them to function and to thrive. There's practically no voice in Washington that really stands up for small businesses as much as the SBA pretends to. People can learn all about our complaints, at our website, ASBL.com, the American Small Business League. I could go on and on, Larry, shall I?
Oh, no, I don't have 4 hours. but I'm glad you put out the website there. But again, I'm glad you made a clear difference there between the American Small Business League and the Small Business Association.
Right. Well, Washington has a Small Business Administration, and we bug them as much as we can and raise the alarm about how they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. We wish they would.
All right. Well, maybe if you're pressure, they will continue. And we will see what happens if Mamdani ends up winning the general election and is indeed in control. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Larry.
All right. You bet.